The only place to grab one of these official shirts is prowrestlingtees.com/616entertainment. There's a million of them, check them out. This video is also brought to you in part by the Patreon producers, without whom content like this would not be possible. The PlayStation 2. Come on, man, what even needs to be said? We're talking about the highest selling video game console of all time. This is the home of Metal Gear Solid 2, Grand Theft Auto Vice City, Shadow of the Colossus, goodness gracious. If you're a younger viewer who didn't grow up with a PS2 in your house, shit, you missed out on history, and I'm sorry. Years prior to the release of this monster, you had your Sega Genesis kids and your Super Nintendo kids. Later, there were PlayStation kids and N64 kids. I'm not trying to say that nobody in the world had an Xbox or a GameCube, that'd be a ridiculous generalization, but the PlayStation 2 was damn near ubiquitous, and for good reason. What's up, Dan-Dans? My name is Ian, and today I'm going to put together my top 10 PlayStation 2 games of all time. Why? Because you asked me to. The 85,000 subscriber milestone poll went up, and you guys voted for what you wanted to see. Top 10 favorite PlayStation 2 games won by a large margin. Before we go any further, you know the drill with my list videos. These are strictly my opinions. These are my favorites. If your favorite game is not here, it doesn't mean I forgot it, and it doesn't mean my list is wrong. Our lists are not going to be exactly the same, and that's perfectly fine. That's what the comment section is for. That's where we can talk about which games I like and which games you like. Capiche? There's also one rule I play by, and that is one entry per franchise. Let's say I was a big football fan, and I'm not, but let's say that I was. I'm not going to fill my top 10 PS2 list with Madden 2002, Madden 2003, Madden 2004. That's a boring list. One entry per franchise. Now, without further ado, let's get to it. Let's kick this off with a game that I love, but I've never spoken about on this channel, at least as far as I can remember. Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus is a fantastic 3D platformer. We take control of Sly Cooper and occasionally his band of misfits. Both Murray, the pink hippo getaway driver, and Bentley, the box turtle with a genius intellect, have their own minigame levels to keep the action fresh and fun. I've beaten this game no less than 7 times, and through its HD up-res versions, I earned the Platinum Trophy on both PS3 and Vita. Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus was fun then, it's fun now, and I'll never forget how I came to try this one for the first time. I was at Hollywood Video with my brother and my buddy Tim. I think I grabbed ECW Hardcore Revolution off the shelf for what must have been the 10th time, and my mom stopped me. She said, "You've gotten that one before. Why don't you try something new? What about this one?" She picked up Sly Cooper, and honestly, I'd never even heard of it. I was skeptical. We all were, but we went along with it. Fast forward to some point far beyond our bedtimes, and this sleepover was still on fire, man. The 3 of us had started the game as soon as we'd gotten home, and now we were on the final level. These are the memories that last forever, Dan-Dans. Sly Cooper makes the list without a second thought. Coming in at number 9, Dead to Rights. Nobody ever talks about Dead to Rights, and I love this game. Jack Slate is a Grant City police officer, and he, along with his trusty canine partner Shadow, are out to get to the bottom of the murder of Jack's father. Shadow can tear the throat out of any bad guy on screen with the press of a button, and he'll even bring you their weapon. Jack Slate takes enemies as human shields, and when they're no longer useful, he executes them in horrific fashion. Dead to Rights takes us from the streets, to inside a prison, into the underground crime world of Grant City, and I'm not going to spoil the twists and turns of this story. This game is not expensive at all. And if you're looking for a super fun, action-packed PlayStation 2 game that doesn't overstay its welcome, coming in at about 10 hours long, Dead to Rights is an excellent choice. I mentioned at the top of this video that I'm not a football guy. I'm not a baseball guy either, at least not anymore. But back in early 2005, when the final MLB licensed iteration of MVP Baseball hit the PS2, I was at the height of my interest in the sport. I grew up a Cubs fan, and I cannot begin to express how many hours I poured into clobbering dingers out of Wrigley Field with Moises Alou, Sammy Sosa, Derek Lee, Aramis Ramirez, and the rest of that stacked lineup. I've told the story before of my custom stats, overpowered Sammy Sosa-fueled dynasty mode that saw my Cubs go a stupidly unrealistic 144-18 across an entire season before winning the World Series, so I won't drone on this one for too long. MVP 05 is remembered to this day as one of the all-time greats in the baseball video game conversation, and with good reason. The 7th spot goes to Def Jam Fight for New York. I mentioned countless hours poured into MVP 05. Let me tell you something. If you think you have any idea how many times I created storylines and feuds in my head inside of Fight for New York, you're out of your ass. Blow-offs to major feuds always resulted in somebody's death, from either getting hit by a train or thrown through the window of a skyscraper, so after a while, I had to start from scratch, but that's fine. Def Jam Fight for New York's story mode has no business being as well written and engaging as it is, but son of a bitch. Gang warfare, the kidnapping of your girlfriend, blackmail that forces you to go against your own boys, shit. Unfortunately, this isn't like Dead to Rights. You cannot grab a copy of this one on a random Wednesday night. Def Jam Fight for New York is not cheap, so that's a bummer. But hey, if you want to hear a full, in-depth retrospective on this game, check out my show Triangle X Squared Circle, the wrestling game retrospective series. I got you covered. At a time when WWE owned the wrestling world, it felt like there wasn't a single game on the shelf that didn't have that damn WWE logo plastered on it. You had to be hardcore, a for real grimy Dan to know about Fire Pro Returns. I went as far as importing this one from Japan back in the day. It was the only way to play it. I installed a flip top with swap magic on my PS2 Slim to trick the console into reading the Japanese disc. I bought an Action Replay Max from Best Buy to download a save with a custom roster, and I printed out a several hundred-page translation guide so that I could read the menus. This was deep. This was far and away the furthest I'd ever gone to play a video game, and I'd be lying to you if I said I wouldn't do it again. Fire Pro Wrestling Returns opened my eyes to what wrestling games could be. And in an era where the public perceived the quality of any given title to be directly related to its graphical fidelity, Fire Pro said, get out of here with that bullshit. Gameplay is king. Always has been, always will be. And the gameplay in Fire Pro Returns is the cream of the crop. Breaking into the top 5 now, Tony Hawk's Underground. Let's get one thing straight. I adore the early Tony Hawk games. Absolutely adore them. Changes to the gameplay were made over time, new levels and skaters were introduced. I think we all wondered what a Tony Hawk game with an actual story mode would look like. And not only that, but how about this? What if we could get off the board? I know this seems like small potatoes now, but in 2004, this concept blew my ass in half. I'll never forget clearing the death gap over those spinning helicopter blades, and I'll never forgive Eric Sparrow for stealing the glory, that piece of shit. Maybe I should give the Tony Hawk games an in-depth look at some point. Something to think about. There was no chance in hell we were going to get through my top 10 favorite PlayStation 2 games without reserving a spot for Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks. This is my favorite Mortal Kombat game, period. End of story. Exploring the environments of both the original MK as well as its sequel from an entirely new perspective was absolutely stunning to me. The boss battles are creative and exhilarating. The level design is a chef's kiss. And the ability to run through the entire game again as Scorpion and Sub-Zero once the first pass is complete? Come on. I never have, and I assume I never will, get tired of this one. Check out the history of Mortal Kombat for my in-depth thoughts on Shaolin Monks, Dan. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. WWE Smackdown Here Comes the Pain is my favorite wrestling game of all time. Damn, the PS2 plays host to my favorite Mortal Kombat game and my favorite wrestling game ever. Did I mention at the top that the PlayStation 2 was legendary, or what? Here Comes the Pain gave us everything we wanted. A totally revamped grapple system that added layers upon layers of depth. A season mode for the ages. Brand new match types, none more highly requested than the Elimination Chamber. Unlockable legends. Let's go, man. In 2017, I finished my first ever History Of series with a retrospective on Here Comes the Pain. And nearly 5 years later, I still feel like there's more to be said. And that's the truth. We're right near the top now, and it's time we stop off in survival horror territory. Resident Evil 4 is absolutely one of the greatest games ever made. I'm saying it. RE4 changed the third-person shooter genre forever. It breathed new life into the already reanimated corpse of the Resident Evil franchise. That's a new life that hasn't shown any signs of slowing either, in case you were wondering. From the haunting village at the very start, across the pond to the cold and unwelcoming castle on the other side, all the way to... You know what? We don't have to go play by play here. This is another title I have covered extensively in the history of Resident Evil, which I believe is absolutely one of my best works. On another day, maybe this would be number one. Who knows? It's that good. Resident Evil 4, man. This one will live forever. And coming in at number one, my favorite PlayStation 2 game of all time, God of War. Look, I'm an open-minded guy. I try not to walk into any piece of entertainment with my arms crossed, just looking to hate whatever is put in front of me. I give things a chance. And even still, it's extremely rare that something I went into totally blind can floor me the way 2005's God of War did. I had zero expectations of this one, zero preconceived notion of what I was in for, and the next thing I know, I'm in the shoes, or sandals, of Kratos, the man they call the Ghost of Sparta. How many games open with the suicide of the main character? God of War's puzzles are imaginative, and never leave you wishing these sections were skippable. God of War's combat is varied and expansive, with new moves and abilities keeping the action fresh. God of War's story is absolutely brilliant. The game had me traversing locales unlike anything I'd ever experienced before, and much like Resident Evil 4 changed the third-person shooter forever, God of War changed scale forever. There's an entire fucking level that takes place on the back of another living being. God of War is still extremely relevant today, with its reimagined comeback taking the series to new heights as far as sales figures are concerned, but it's the 2005 original that will forever own my heart. I've got a long list of franchises that I'd love to give the retrospective treatment to, and you bet your ass God of War is on that list. There you have it, Dan-Dans. Those are my top 10 favorite PlayStation 2 games of all time. Now, I know. Where's Metal Gear Solid 2? Where's Metal Gear Solid 3? Look, I never played them all the way through. Where's Vice City? Where's San Andreas? I have great memories with San Andreas, but it doesn't quite crack the top 10 for me. Here's where we go now. I want to know what your top 10 favorite PlayStation 2 games list looks like. Go down in the comments, put your list together. I will be reading them, as always. Comparing favorites is fun 100% of the time. I don't care what the topic is. Thank you very much for helping me reach 85,000 subscribers. That's the reason this video was created in the first place. We're beyond that number now, and hey, maybe soon we can do a 90,000 subscriber milestone poll. And as always, it'll be up to you guys to determine what that bonus video topic is going to be. Maybe it'll be another top 10. It's up to you. Until next time, I love ya, and I will see you soon.